Attorney Joe Lopez, you're the lawyer for Drew Peterson. You don't think there'll be a problem if the jury hears these letters?
Well, they're not going to hear these letters because these have nothing to do with the case that he's charged with. He is charged.
I think they go to his frame of mind.
Well, they can go to his frame of mind all that you want to think of, but he's not charged with Stacey Peterson's death, so they're not relevant to the Kathleen Savio indictment at all. So they are not coming in this case. Perhaps if he gets...
He is sitting behind bars, awaiting trial in the murder of his third wife, Kathleen Savio. And where is his head? His head is soliciting women outside of jailhouse cells for sex. That's where his head is, and giving away her clothing. That doesn't concern you?
That has nothing to do with what he's charged with.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you, did it concern you?
Of course it concerns any lawyer when their client's statements are made public, whether they're good statements or bad statements. Most lawyers don't want their clients talking to the press or saying anything. So, of course, it concerns us, but it's not coming into evidence. It has nothing to do with what he's charged with. And if the Will County State's attorneys think they have enough to charge him with Stacey's disappearance, then maybe those will become relevant. But right now, they're not relevant to this case, and they are not coming in.
Mr. Lopez, when I asked you about him willingly giving away Stacey Peterson's clothing, as he referred to it, new or like new, bikinis, sweats, fur coats, leather coats, to various women, at first you said, why not give them away to Goodwill? And then you pass it off as being a joke. So which one is it? Is the letter a joke, or is he really trying to give the clothes away?
Well, you know, he's a jokester, so I don't know.
No,
what
I
his
don't know
intent
that
is
he's a jokester. I don't know that. I don't know anything about that.
Well, we just heard it. I mean, we just heard somebody repeating that he's a jokester and he likes to joke around. I don't see what that has to do with anything. The fact that he's writing to a...
Writing to a what?
Oh, I'm sorry. That he's writing to somebody from prison has nothing to do with his case. They don't prove anything. I don't see what those letters prove.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
Those letters might prove something to all the Drew haters, but they don't prove anything in a court of law. They mean nothing.
I'm glad you feel
Nothing.
that way.
Zero.
And you should not object when they come into evidence, I guess. To Ellie Jostad,
well, I have to
editorial...
object. I have to object, Nancy.
Well, why?
You know
if there's nothing wrong with them, why not let them in?
Well, because they're not relevant to the case at hand. If he gets charged with Stacey, maybe they're relevant. We're talking about Kathleen Savio falling in a bathtub and hitting her head and dying, not a murder.
No, she didn't actually hit her head and die. That's not exactly what happened. I have the autopsy report.
That's what the coroner ruled. That's what the coroner...
Right
they
here in front of me.
They had a coroner's jury.
And it says, actually, when the case was reopened...
Which autopsy are you looking at, though? There's two of them. Are you looking at the first one or the one they paid $50,000
That it was not an accident. That it was not an accident.
It's an accident. It's an accident.
It's why your client has been charged with her murder. And in both of the autopsy reports, we learned of multiple bruises, multiple scrapes, multiple injuries on her body. What about that, sir?
Well, that's already been presented to the Will County coroner's jury, and they found that it was an accident. So what about that? You have to ask those jurors. They heard that evidence, and that's the conclusion they reached, that it was an accident. It wasn't until Fox and other people paid to have somebody come in there and make it a murder that it became a murder. Otherwise, there was never a murder. It's an accident. It was a slip and fall in the bathtub, and that's it.
According to one of the most renowned medical examiners in the world, Michael Baden, and I'm quoting from
Who was paid? Who was paid?
If I may finish,
medical examiner.
I very kindly allowed you to finish.
Go ahead.
I just can't wait for the jury to get a big load of you. In my opinion, says Baden, the drowning of Miss Savio in a bathtub with multiple blunt force injuries indicative of a struggle should be classified as a homicide. And, as a matter of fact, it's not just because of his decision, but isn't it true your client was indicted by a grand jury for murder?
After they were read that paid-for autopsy report, of course. The grand jury indicted him based on that and all those bogus hearsay statements.
To the defense attorney for Drew Peterson, joining us tonight, Joe Lopez. Joe, again, thank you for being with us. Why is your client
You're
calling
welcome.
from behind jailhouse walls into radio stations about dating games?
Well, that was before I got involved in the case. That
Don't
was
care.
something that him and Mr. Brodsky got involved in. They did it. It was obvious that at the time that they did it that maybe it wasn't that well thought out of a plan, but they did it, and the judge stopped it eventually, and it didn't happen again. And
Why do you
I'm
say
not sure
it was
why
not
happened.
that well thought of a plan?
Well, I mean, anytime you engage your client in a conversation, like you mentioned earlier about the letter, Nancy, anytime a client says anything, if he's appearing on this show and any other show, they could be construed as some type of admissions. And again, anything a client says that's taped, or whether it's live, if a prosecutor hears it, they could attempt to use it at any time, because you can always use the defendant's statement in your case in chief as a prosecutor, as you well know. What the difference is, again, with the letter that was written to this other girl is it doesn't concern the case regarding Ms. Savio.
Joe.
Yes.
The
Go
reality
ahead.
is that relevancy is not even determined enough of an objection to hold a point on appeal. So you got to come up with something better than it's irrelevant to have a valid appealable ground. Come on, don't try to pull the wool over on my eyes, because I know the law. So if your best argument is it's irrelevant, you better go back and hit the books again.